All right, guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to German and their efficiency at work. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Thank you so much for a lot of videos that you guys have recommended. Man, there's some video that you guys recommended. It's like an hour and a half. I'm gonna react to it. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna take my time mentally, just sit down and just go through it because it's long. It's like an hour and a half of time. So I mean that video might be like 2 hours long. But we're gonna react to it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. That really helps getting to that 4,000 subscriber. Our journey is 10,000, right? But getting that 4,000 is so important, guys. You guys have no idea. So you can simply just take your time before you start the video, click subscribe, and then watch the entire video. Meantime, guys, let's jump in.
Hannah, it's 6 p.m. Time to stop work.
I just have to finish a few things off.
No, you can do it tomorrow. Let's go home.
Did you ever stop to think that maybe the reason why Germans are so famous for their work ethic and efficiency is because they actually respect their working hours and therefore their free time? In my opinion, German working culture is actually pretty great. Let me explain why. Good salaries and flexible working hours are super important to Germans. Salaries in Germany are typically higher than they are in the UK or other European countries, especially when it comes to public sector jobs like teaching, although this does of course depend on the sector that you're working in. But talking about salary is still a difficult issue here, although there are hopes that this will change with a pay transparency law.
German bureaucracy is notorious, and the amount of paper used is astronomical. The Germans print everything. It's no wonder digitalization is just limping along here.
The average German works for almost 40 years, which is considerably higher than the European average. The typical working day is 9 to 6 or 8 to 5.
Okay.
The minimum amount of holiday is
Okay,
20
I'm digging that. It's just same as here. Okay, let's see what's going on.
days a year, but most people get even more than 30. You're fully expected to take all those days, so you don't need to feel guilty or stressed about taking holiday.
The same goes for sick days. Achoo! You don't need to feel guilty about taking a day off work due to sickness, and nobody's going to ask you any questions. You can normally have 3 days off before you need a doctor's note, and sick days are usually paid.
One thing office workers argue about most often is whether to open or close the window. Germans love fresh air at work.
Okay, we need to talk about the gender pay gap. Women earn, on average, per hour, almost a fifth less than men. Compared to the rest of Europe, Germany has one of the highest gender pay gaps. This is for multiple reasons. Women are often more likely to work in part-time jobs, work in lower paid jobs, or negotiate less money. A women's quota was introduced in 2016 so that at least 30% of newly appointed board positions in listed companies need to be women. What's it like in your country?
What do you guys think about that? Yeah, you have to. Even there is none. What if there's no women? No women for that position. What do you do? Let's say there's no women for that position. What do you do, right?
Germany is actually one of the countries in Europe where people work the least, probably because they actually stick to their working hours. But the desire for a better balance between gainful employment on the one hand and private life on the other is definitely growing, and surveys show that more and more people are feeling overwhelmed with their workload.
Interesting.
The Berlin Social Science Center is researching the issue. And what is the younger generation's attitude toward work? Is Gen Z really that work shy? Work researcher Lena Hipp can tell us.
I wouldn't say they are lazy. I think they have somewhat different priorities. They don't put paid work, employment above all else in the world. And I think this can also have really beneficial elements. You know, if you think about democracy, you know, people need to engage, you know, you also have to have time for raising kids, for taking care of elderly people. So I think there's also positive aspects of this. And, you know, just because you don't want to work 40 hours plus does not mean that you are a lazy person.
How
That's a
has
good point.
work culture in Germany actually developed over the last few years?
Twice as many people work from home nowadays as they did in the time before the pandemic. And of course, this changes, you know, how people interact at the workplace.
Hey, man. Hey, that's what it is. I mean, think about it. And also, listen, folks, I work from home. Me, I work from home. And I work better than my current employers that are in their office. I'm one of the top 10 agents. And I work very hard. And I even broke the record a couple times of the most sales. And I work from home. Now, also, you have to think that there are also other expenses when you're driving, right? Well, I'm in the United States, so I drive a lot. I put gas, I put repairs and maintenance in my car. Those things cost money, folks. So the way I think millennials, Gen Z are looking at it, they're saying like, okay, I understand my parents work very hard, but what can I do different to make sure I can just cost some of those expenses? That's how I see it.
It's how they organize meetings. Overall, the labor market is doing pretty well. It's easy for employees to find a new job. Employers are looking for new personnel. They are really having sometimes a hard time finding adequate employees. And organizations try to fill this by attracting women, in particular mothers, to join the labor force. They also seek to attract workers from other countries to fill these open positions.
Why not having more kids with the current population? I don't know, folks. Let me just be quiet here. Let me just be quiet. But it's just a lot of these things. I know we want to bring people for the job, but man, what about the people that want to have more families? We have to make it easy for them as well. You cannot have a mom and have her work full time as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want mom, but mom want to have kids, but then you want mom to work for 50 to 60 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be a balance to this. I think mom working a part-time job that, can bring some money to the table is fine. But let her be mom. Make it easier for her.
But the labor shortage in
Damn.
Germany is nothing new.
What a picture,
As a
huh?
consequence of World War II,
What a
male
photo.
workers in particular were in short supply. This is why Germany invited guest workers to come from other countries. Many Italians, Turks, and Greeks came to Germany in the late 1950s and into the 60s and stayed. Now, their children and grandchildren are living here and shaping German culture.
All right, now you're all clued up on German working culture, here's some vocab you need to know. Feierabend. This
Feierabend.
directly translates to celebratory evening, but it actually just means the end of the working day. Gehaltswunsch. This is your salary
Gehaltswunsch.
request, which is typically mandatory on job applications. Gleitzeit. Flexi time. This means you have a fixed number of hours, but you can choose more or less when you want to take them. Unbezahltes Praktikum. This is an unpaid internship, which is generally illegal in Germany unless you're a working student or if it's for longer than 3 months.
That's
Otherwise,
interesting.
it's a requirement to be paid minimum wage at 12 euros an hour. That's all we've got time for. It's 6 p.m., which means it's Feierabend, which often comes hand in hand with a Feierabend beer. Personally, it took me some time to assimilate into the working culture here, but now I really appreciate the work-life balance. What's it like in your country? Let us know in the comments.
You know what's funny? The Puerto Ricans, they do that. Puerto Ricans, they do that. They actually, by the end of the day, they just grab beer and start drinking it after work. That's interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it in today. Overtime is rarely paid. And I've forgotten what the last line is.
Very lovely lady. But yeah, in Puerto Rico, they do that same thing. Like, when you work in like a service job, they usually drink beers afterward. Or in a factory job, they'll drink some beer. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. Meantime, guys, I will see you on the next one.